Welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast with Scott Mackenzie. Scott is a passionate industry professional dedicated to transferring cutting-edge, industry-focused innovations and trends while highlighting the men and women who keep the world moving. So put on your hard hat, grab your work boots, and let's go.
Hello, and once again, thank you for joining Industrial Talk. Thank you for your continued support. This platform is dedicated to you. You are the heroes in this story because you're bold, you're brave, you dare greatly, you're changing lives, and you're changing the world on the number one industrial-related podcast in the universe. And boy, I'll tell you, I go each and every day thankful that you are an audience, participant, supportive of this platform, because we're all about that education, definitely about that collaboration, and of course, innovation is everything. We've got to do it. That's what Industrial Talk is all about. In the hot seat, we have a gentleman by the name of Troy Roberts. The company is Beanstalk Collaborative Community Wealth. We're going to be talking about succession planning from an industrial perspective, and he's going to lay down some of that sage advice that I think you need to be aware of. So let's get cracking. Never, ever do I get tired of these conversations. Never. I think so highly of everybody out there that in the industrial world and others. I mean, I'm just because we're Industrial Talk, of course, and it's truly more than ever, the way I see it, that we need to depend on you to solve some of these really important challenges that are facing not just the countries, but the world. And because industry is global, it is a global challenge. And I'm glad smart people are doing it, and it's way above my pay grade. But fortunately for me, I get to talk to them. And then fortunately for you, you get to hear what they have to say. And more so, you can go out to Industrial Talk and just reach out and collaborate. Because everybody on the podcast understands that that's an obligation. So education, collaboration, and innovation is the name of the game on Industrial Talk. So, and speaking of which, if you go out to Industrial Talk, of course, we have just endless, and I mean endless resources to draw from in the world of industry. I mean, after 3,000 of these doggone conversations, I guarantee you will find what you need, the individual that will help you solve those challenges that you're dealing with today. So we have a major queue of great conversations coming your way. But one of the things I want to point out is when I was, managing some companies, owning some companies, doing whatever I need to do, I started this podcast specifically in the hopes of opening doors, in the hopes of creating relationships that are just a little bit deeper than the typical relationship within industry. And it turned out to be that's the case. And with that said, there's been a steep learning curve in many of my efforts. But one of the things that I have learned and can appreciate is this greater appreciation is marketing and sales. And there's things that I've done that I shouldn't have done. There's things that I should do that I need to do. But the reality is that all of that information is out on Industrial Talk in the learning management system. And it's there. You want to know how I look at marketing in today's industry, then it's out there. It's a video. It's a class. And you get everything that I've done and then some. And so please, in an effort to support Industrial Talk, in an effort to continue to elevate the conversation within industry, just go out to Industrial Talk and get engaged. Find the people. Search on a topic that you definitely are interested in, and I guarantee you, you're going to find something out there. All right. That's my plug. Just the bottom line, just go out to Industrial Talk. Find out more. You'll connect with me and have a chit-chat. And we're going to be going to a couple of shows, too, so we're going to be pretty busy in the next few weeks and doing some on-site broadcasting, which is always a lot of fun and always a great opportunity to get the latest and greatest in all of these industrial topics. All right, His name is Troy Roberts. The company is Beanstalk Collaborative Community Wealth. We are talking specifically about strategies around succession planning. You have a manufacturing, you have a industrial business. These are the conversations you got to have. And you got to find these incredible Sherpas out there to help you navigate those waters to do it right. Well, whatever the options are, I guarantee you Troy knows. So let's get cracking. Enjoy Troy. Troy, welcome to Industrial Talk. Thank you very much for joining. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm sitting here in Colorado Springs, a sunny day with 5 inches of new snow on the ground.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm sitting here right outside of New Orleans, and it's just been soggy and wet, thick weather. It's mucky. Yeah. 3 days now. Ugly.
Well, that's why I live here.
yeah, but the snow, that's exciting stuff. All right, for the listeners out there, we're going to be talking a little bit about succession planning. What do we do? Specifically in the world of manufacturing, industry in general. And if you want to create that legacy, there's got to be a process behind that, the do's and don'ts. That's what we're going to be chatting with Troy on in this. But before we get going, give us a little background, Troy, on who you are.
Yeah. I'm the CEO of a company named Beanstalk Collaborative Community Wealth. I have a couple partners, and we're really reaching out to smaller business owners and discussing succession planning. And sometimes we buy their companies or are part of that succession plan. But what's really important, what our mission is we want to see manufacturing continue in the United States and be strong. And small business, accounts for a huge amount of, job growth in the United States, companies with less than 25 employees. But unfortunately, that's the group that probably spends the least amount of time on things like succession planning. And
without a doubt.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
I've been involved with a lot of trade associations, Precision Metal Forming Association, American Mold Builders Association.
Mm-hmm.
And when we survey members, and I've been on the boards and I've chaired the PMA, and all the years I've been involved, succession planning is always in the top 3 issues that members bring to the trade association asking for help. But it's also the one that business owners never find time to really work on the business versus working in the business.
Oh, yeah.
To deal with this. And I think it's because they don't really know what to do.
Oh, without a doubt. They know how to manufacture. They know how to do their thing, what they're passionate about, and they probably recognize the necessity to be able to hand it to or sell it or do whatever is necessary. But they'd rather have a root canal than try to figure out how to structure that business to be able to do that. But that's why you and your organizations are around. You need these trusted Sherpas. So with that said, give us some analogies or examples of succession planning. I know that there could be within family, it could be sold, packaged up, sold. There's just so many different types. Can you sort of take us through that?
Yeah, you really, it's very specific to the business and what they've done to prepare themselves to know what options they really have in succession. It could range from, they have children or partners involved in the business that they can succeed the business to. So family, it could be, people that they've developed in the organization that they can succeed it to, that have worked with them and helped them grow the business. That could be another option if it's done well. It could be, or it could be sold off to a strategic buyer that's within their industry, be it, someone that's in their industry or a customer or a supplier that wants to be in the space that they're operating in. What we don't want to see happen is the business owner gets to the point where he wants to leave, he or she wants to retire, and they find the only option they have, or their business value, the only option they have is liquidation. And if they've done that they're getting the least amount of value out of their business. In addition, all those employees there and the community that business is in that's generating a big multiplier effect of economic activity that comes along with manufacturing is lost. And that's really what we don't want to see happen. That is the worst outcome for everybody involved. So, so I think, step one is really trying to, understand that and what you have to do to position yourself and your business so that that liquidation option is not the only option on the table for you.
Yeah, but there's an education that maybe it's the only thing that I'm aware of is like, okay, I've got all of these CNC machines. They're all here. I don't have a family to take it or whatever it might be. And it's just, you're in a position, I would imagine a lot of people fall into that category, but again, how do you gain that awareness that there are other options? Because that's really what it is.
Well, I think, I'm a big trade association person, big believer in trade association. I've been involved with them. So I think, step one is we encourage, everyone that we speak with, if we're looking at a business or just everyone we know, get involved in the trade association that your industry is affiliated with, because that is a really good start to get information. And the other thing is you don't want to wait to start this process when you're ready to retire. You've really got to be looking years ahead of time if you want to have multiple options available to you in succession.
What's a good rule of thumb if I'm strategically looking ahead? Is it 5, 10 now? I would say, and this is, regardless if it's family or an employee that you would want to transfer it to, you have to ask yourself a couple questions first. How do I want to exit? Yeah. So if it's the family, excuse me, let me turn that off. I didn't hear it. It's all good. All right. If it's the family or someone within the organization, the first thing that we tell people is, are you succeeding this to someone that's capable to take this business? Because a lot of times when this has to be seller financed, especially if you're talking about smaller companies, 5 to 10 million in sales a year. And if they're trying to transfer it to their kids or to an employee, they may have to take what we call seller paper or seller note. And the worst thing that you can do is transition that business to someone that's not capable to lead that business going forward. And we've seen this happen where sellers of businesses had to take their business back in a much worse situation than when they that's got to be a really interesting conversation that you have with the owner where you're saying, hey, your son or daughter not really capable, and I think that's a risk. I understand your love, but I think it's a risk. Yeah. So that it takes honesty there. And so that's from the seller side. Then whoever thinks they really want to take this business on, or that you have to make sure that they have the appropriate risk profile that they want to take it on. Not everybody wants to sign personal guarantees with a bank or, have the risk associated with running a business. They don't have that entrepreneurial spirit, let's say. Mm-hmm. So one is, are they capable? 2, do they have the risk appetite? And if both of those things are there, and you really want to keep it within the family, so to speak, then you really, we tell them, if you have to figure out how much risk you want to take as the seller, how much seller paper. So let's say it's a, $5 million business that's generating $1 million of EBITDA, and it's got a 5 times multiple and it's worth $5 million. Yeah.
and you want to sell it. Well, the seller, he's wanting to retire and he needs some cash. So it's how much seller paper would you carry? And then where are they going to get that other financing from? So is it going to be an SBA loan or whatever? And you sort of need to start structuring this thing early on. And I would be talking to the local bankers and stuff like that and saying, what does our situation have to look like where you're not going to require personal guarantees from everyone? Because this is the real sticky point, where the risk profile goes up. So how does that business need to be performing to reduce that risk profile and the requirement of personal guarantees? Because SBA loans require that and banks going to require that. The question is how much? So you want everybody to go into this with their eyes open. Because if you don't discover these things till, hey, we're ready to transition, and one of the parties say, I don't want to take that amount of risk, then you're sort of stuck. Where do you go from here?
Yeah.
So those are the challenges with that kind of internal succession.
I think right off the bat, right now, there's nothing holding you back. I like your approach on trade associations and getting connected there and being able to have that at your fingertips. You can do that now. There's nothing holding you back.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
It's like that makes complete, and then get started today.
Yep.
Whatever, wherever you're at. If you're saying to yourself, I'd like to get, something, I'd like to, separate or get out of it in a year. Well, okay, that's where you're at. Get started. So it's a no-brainer. Wherever you're at, get started.
Right. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
So that's one option. But there's a lot of people that are not in that situation. Their kids, they took a different path. They're not interested in the family business.
Yeah.
And you may have the seller that, though they really appreciate their employees, they just really want to retire, get the most value they can out of their business and move on. They care about their business, they care about the community, but they've worked hard and they're ready to retire. So, and this is where we're very interested in companies like that for acquiring them.
Yeah.
But to allow companies like us to be able to participate in that, it's really important that the seller develops their employees there where their employees can run that business. So,
you don't want to incur that, liability where it just falls apart right off the bat because nobody knows what to do.
Exactly. So we tell these sellers, if you think that's the way to go, then, develop a really good management team. Tell them what your intentions are from the very beginning and reward them for helping you get value out of the business, for increasing the value of the business. So, Scott, in our model, and I'll use Tolerance Tool. We bought a company in St. Paul, Minnesota. It was $4 million in sales when we bought it. It's about $5 million in sales now. And the sellers of that business, they were very smart. Two guys that started in their garage, built a really quality business. They make injection mold tooling, and their customer base is primarily the big med device companies. And 10 years ago, and they grew that business for 30 years. But 10 years ago, they made the decision to go ahead and promote one of the employees to general manager, another one to engineering manager, and they really turned the operation of that business over to these two gentlemen, younger guys. And now they were still there and they were still part of it, but they were not leading it. And so, for us, because we want to buy really good companies, but it has to have a management team there that we can come around and help them do things, and we have helped them do things. But with respect to the business itself and operating the business and dealing with the customers, I don't know squat about how to build an injection mold tool. I came from a stamping environment.
Right.
But it made it where we could buy this company and give them full value and not miss a beat with servicing customers. And we didn't lose any of the employees, and it's just worked beautifully. So, but it really takes that seller to realize that and start investing in his people years ahead to make sure that when he goes out to sell the company, he says, we've got very good people here that can continue to run this business. So now that takes you from being able to find a buyer that's just not, because you got a kind of buyer that says, hey, I like Scott's business and I just want to take his customers. I don't care about the people. I don't care about what he has. I just want his business, and then I'm going to close it down. Well, the seller's legacy is totally lost. The community suffers and that kind of thing. And that's what can happen with a strategic type buyer, with an investor like we were. We wanted to see this business continue, and we had to have that. So the sellers of Tolerance, they really set themselves up. They could sell to a strategic buyer, or they could sell to someone like us. So they had the full complement of who they could sell to.
But you're going to make the assessment that there's room for expansion, growth. It's not just, hey, we buy it and you just keep it at the same. You see value in growth opportunities.
Yes,
because it's an investment. Why wouldn't you? Right?
Yes, that's true. And the sellers were very good about working with us and allowing us access to the management team, and we worked a plan together. Mm-hmm. And we're getting growth in sales and profitability. It's easy to grow top line sales for a while. The trick is, can you grow sales profitably?
Yeah.
And we're doing that, and that's the part where me and my partners were very helpful for the business.
Yeah, and that makes sense. So what we have is in the family and then sell it outright. But then to sell it outright, we need the right people in place.
Yep.
And
Yes.
then, of course, there's a couple of sell it outright, ones that want to cannibalize versus one that wants to continue on with a legacy of some sort and take that. At that point in time, the owner, the past owner, is pretty much removed from. Do you sometimes keep them on as
yes
consultants or whatever you want, advisors?
In our model, yes. So one of the guys, his name's Tom Hoffer. He is still working at the company. He's not ready to retire yet, and so he's a consultant for us, but he's working probably 20, 30 hours a week. But also we're approaching more injection mold companies now. Now that we moved from an investor to now we are a strategic buyer, because we've been in this business for a couple of years and we understand it a lot better.
Yeah.
And so we see a lot of opportunity to help these companies. So we're approaching other injection mold builders now where the owners are maybe like 55, and we're explaining that we're saying, hey, if you would allow us to evaluate your business, we may be able to come together and become partners. So sort of meet the seller like they're not ready to leave, and we don't want them to leave. But we see a lot of good things there where we can help grow the business and say, look, let's work the business together for 10 years. Let's work on a plan to where we think we can take the business over 10 years. And if whatever percentage they retain in this new business going forward with us as partners, we will be able to demonstrate to them that part that they retained is going to be worth a lot more value than the part that they sold to us when we became partners.
Yeah.
And then we come up with a plan on how we're going to do that, because Tolerance is a very, very good molder. They've got a very good customer base, and the demand for their services is exceeding the supply.
No, very
so
good.
We think we can really help these kind of companies, and we're excited about that opportunity. So that's how as Beanstalk, we're evolving into where we think we can make a bigger impact on these smaller businesses.
How do you get the inside scoop on through trade shows of companies that are just like, hey, we're at a point where we're 55 or whatever the age, and we've got this business and we've been a part of this association for X amount of years. That's prime target, right?
Yep. As soon as Tolerance was not a member of the American Mold Builders Association, for example, when we acquired them in September of 2021, the end of September, in October, we joined the American Mold Builders Association. And then I've gotten more involved, and now I'm serving actually on the board of the AMBA. So I'm meeting people, as I wear two hats.
Yeah,
I have
yeah,
a Tolerance hat. I'm the
yeah,
CEO of Tolerance, but I'm also the CEO of Beanstalk, and I'm getting really active in it at two levels. One is to explain to these, because the businesses in the American Mold Builders Association, they are mostly 5 to 8 million in sales.
yeah.
That's the general member is right there. So they fit this area that we're a description of what we're talking about, profile. And so we're trying to do a lot of education there in succession planning, financial literacy, things like that, so that they start thinking about these things. A big part of it is getting an awareness that I need to start thinking about this now, not later, now, today.
Yeah.
And then through this, I'm starting to meet people and network, and more opportunities are coming up where we can talk to people.
Yeah. See, it just makes sense. And I'm always about, there's a lot of companies out there. There's a lot of people, and it impacts many facets of industry that just hang a shingle out. And there's like, we do this now and we do that. But it's incumbent upon the individual to find that trusted individual. It gets down to people. It really does. Finding the right person to be able to help them along in this journey. And that's what I see what you and your organization provide, is that ability. And I can probably have a conversation with you with no problem. Like, no strings attached. Like, hi, I'm a CNC shop, and been doing this for X amount of years, and now I'm thinking about this. I'm getting tired. Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever the reason is, and be able to have that conversation.
Absolutely.
What's the biggest roadblock? I mean, what like, with all that said, like, there's really no friction of me being able to talk to you and then be able to get information. I just see positives. What's sort of the biggest roadblock that you come across that say, no, I'm not ready. No, I'm whatever it might be.
I think it's awareness in life. It's like, you know how days turn into weeks and weeks turn into months.
Yeah.
And they're working in the business. It's a lot of these businesses they're mom and pop shops, pop's in the shop, mom's the admin.
Yeah.
They're they may be doing well. They may have very little debt. They got cash in the bank. They've got this thing hanging over them. They know that they've got to deal with it at some point, but just time goes by, and they're dealing with the problems of the day. They're trying to get tools out. They're trying to get their product out.
Yeah.
Dealing with customers, and then just time slips away from them. And because they're small, a lot of them are characterized. They don't have a CFO or something like that. They don't have that. They'll have a general manager, an engineering person, people that do, CAD CAM programmers, stuff that relate to operational. They don't invest anything in the financial side. They'll have a local CPA that,
of course,
that knows nothing about their business, frankly. All they do is their tax returns.
Yeah.
At the end of the year, and they just listen to them. Do we need to go spend money to try to reduce their tax liability? Because most of them are cash basis taxpayers.
Yeah.
And they don't really understand how their businesses are performing.
Yeah.
They don't know where they're making money, where they're losing money. They just know overall we're okay, we're comfortable. It's they're making a living. And I think that is the biggest obstacle, to answer your question.
Yeah.
It's an awareness. And, and this is where, Rich White and Tom Hoffer, the previous owners of Towers, I think they weren't even involved in the trade association. They were pretty smart, and they're sharp guys, and they recognized this early on, that to sell this business, that they had to develop a management team to go with it, and which allowed us to buy it, and it worked out very well for everyone.
That's good. That's good news. How do people get a hold of you there, Troy? They're saying, this is great conversation. I'm interested in extending that conversation. How do I get a hold of Troy?
Well, I would suggest they go to our website. It's www.beanstalkccw.com. And it's got our contact information there. And we've got a lot of good videos and stuff. There's one called The Seller's Journey. And it really, one of the big things that we see with these small businesses, Scott, and I'll just say this very quickly.
Yeah.
The business itself is their identity.
Oh.
And if they lose the business, I think they feel they're going to lose their identity.
Yeah.
And this is where you'll see the guys that are 70 and 80 years old that are now saying, I want to sell my business, because I have a health thing, they're
right.
And those are really hard to help. Because they
don't be them.
Right. But if you've decided to sell your business, we've got some good videos there talking about the seller's journey and all the things that you need to do to prepare yourself for that. The kind of advisors that you need to get and the things that you need to do. And so I think that could be helpful for any listener that you have that's trying there. So I would go to that website, and then they can get contact information, and we'd be glad to talk to anyone and help them out however we can.
Are you out on LinkedIn?
I am on LinkedIn.
Good. We'll have that link too as well. Well, you were absolutely informative there, Troy. That was great.
I appreciate the time.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Well, listeners, we're going to have all the contact information for Troy and his organization out on Industrial Talk. So reach out if you're in that. No, you don't even have to be in that whatever category anymore. You just do it. Just be prepared. It's the right thing to do. All right, Troy, thank you very much for joining.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it greatly.
All right, stay tuned, listeners. We're going to be right back.
You're listening to the Industrial Talk Podcast Network.
And that's a wrap. Great conversation. A lot of nuggets, a lot of opportunity for you to at least collaborate with Troy and his team at Beanstalk Collaborative Community Wealth. See, collaborative right there. It's right in there. It's a part of their name. So, yes, continue to educate, continue to absorb that stuff, because the world is changing. The industrial world, of course the world is changing, but the industrial world is changing ever so rapidly. You got to educate. You got to keep current. You got to keep, and I'm telling you, Industrial Talk is the place to be. You want to collaborate with individuals that are solving problems? Industrial Talk, right there. Right, collaborate. And then innovation, you get the latest and greatest in what's happening in the innovative world, which is a lot, quite frankly. All right, go out to Industrial Talk. Reach out to Troy. Find out more. All the stuff that you need to do. But the reality is that you need to be engaged. Go out to Industrial Talk. I'm there. Easy peasy. Be bold, be brave, dare greatly. Hang out with Troy. Change the world. We're going to have another great conversation shortly, so stay tuned.